he says the same thing. And that's not a mockery, it's just, that's what happened. Now, you came here, hopefully, desiring to hear logical, cogent arguments from both sides, didn't you? Do you want to hear logic or do you want to hear emotion? Maybe I could bring up the death of my son. I had to carry his body to the grave. I could bring him up as an emotional appeal and talk about how my wife and I became very much closer to the Lord in our relationship with him because of it, in a very strange but very real way. Would that validate God's existence if I were to use an emotional appeal? It does not. Does it validate or invalidate God's existence if you use an emotional appeal about the Nazis? Has no bearing on whether or not God exists or not. Now, in Mr. Tabash's debate with Phil Fernandez, I actually did this. I listened to it a few times, and I went back and I counted. At 25 minutes, Mr. Tabash started, and finished at 44 minutes and 30 seconds in, and he asked, in basically 20 minutes, 40 questions. 40 questions. Is there an afterlife? Do we still see things without physical eyes? How do we distinguish each other? How do we communicate with each other? If we die right now, do we hover above our bodies? How does God think without a physical brain? How does God have cognitive self-awareness without a physical brain? Why does God play hide and seek with his children? Why are there so many different religions? If the universe were finely tuned, why is most of it lethal? Why does God make belief in him so difficult? Now let me ask you, if I were to give you a syllogism, Socrates is a man, all men are mortal, therefore Socrates was mortal, that's a logically necessary, correct, valid statement. A syllogism, isn't it? If I were to say to you, was Socrates really there? And why is it that we don't have copies of his footprints and his robes that are written down someplace? Do you expect me to believe in him? Why would I do that? Would that be a cogent, rational argument for why he doesn't exist? Not at all. No disrespect to Mr. Tabash, and no disrespect meant to the atheists, but I'm a firm believer that atheism leaves you intellectually bankrupt. That what it does is it reduces you to the incapability of offering rational, cogent arguments for why God cannot exist. And I know the ones that they've offered, and they're not sound. And I do not see, I haven't yet, and we're going to get to it hopefully tonight, he will try and refute the argument that I've given tonight. And after the break, maybe he can grab a sheet. I can give him a copy if he wants now, so he can prep for the 10-minute debate, for his 10-minute rebuttal. But I'm telling you, answering or asking a bunch of questions, one after another, is not a rebuttal, and it is not a logical presentation of a case. It is not. Don't be deceived into thinking. I'm not saying he's trying to deceive you, but don't be duped into thinking or deceived in any way that when someone asks a series of questions, that carpet bombs questions out, that, hey, see, there you go. God doesn't exist. Really?